Hello, viewers and listeners, and welcome to episode 54 of the Twinsies podcast. My name is Lucas Cook.
And I'm Dan Blewett, and we've been trying to solve my eye patch issue here in Videoland for the last 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot our normal webcam, and I'm using my stupid MacBook Pro's webcam, which I don't know how you have a $1,200 computer or $1,500 computer or whatever, and they only put a 720p webcam in it.
Thanks, Steve Jobs.
It's 2000, it's like 2005 or whatever. Like we should have
for sure in the 2000s.
A 1080p webcam costs $40 on Amazon, so we have to use an aftermarket one that clips on. It's in a big annoying process, and I have a little kit that I forgot, and this one that's in my Mac is not very good, so the video quality is suspect. And we have a little light trying to help it out.
This little light
and
over
this
here.
light is creating the illusion that I'm wearing an eye patch.
Giving Dan an eye patch, just making my head look very shiny.
And it's also not illuminating my teeth very well, so it looks like I have only a handful of teeth.
Wow, so it's really transforming you into a pirate.
I look like a ghoul right now.
Yeah, you got an eye patch and
I'm a ghoul
and dirty teeth. Dan, the pirate captain, courtesy of our clamp lamp, our tin clamp.
So everything's going wrong with Twinsies today. And are you aware that there's another podcast now called Twinsies on iTunes?
No.
Really irritates me.
What?
They're like 10 episodes in, and it's like, look, our podcast, our viewership is not huge. Our podcast is great, but our viewership is not huge. And yet, even when we did this, we did our homework, like researched titles, like we looked through iTunes, we looked through web URLs to figure out, how can we brand our show? But apparently these people did none of that. They're just like, we'll call it Twinsies. Like no one even researched it.
What do they talk about?
It's a like a tealish cover with like a movie camera, and it's like it says two comedians, but they're probably nobodies. And it's something about like movies. It's like when two films have like a similar theme, or I don't know.
Oh, weird.
But it's like they did no research at all, and they're just like, we'll call that. And let's not even think about whether anyone else has that name. Or has been doing this for 53 shows. Now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're not losing any revenue because we have no revenue to lose. But it still just is like annoying. Like, it's 2018. Like, just do like a smaller amount of research and figure it out.
Yeah.
If they had typed that name once into iTunes, they would have seen there's another show. And they probably did that. They was like, screw that, whatever. We'll call it Twinsies anyway.
Yeah, they were so in love with that title.
Yeah, it's not even that great a name. Like, look, we have this podcast. It's not that great of a name. Like, it's fine. Right. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we've been drowning in mediocrity long enough to at least own the title.
So anyway, be sure to go leave a very negative review for the other Twinsies podcast.
I was looking for a way better podcast, and when I searched, I found this turd.
Yeah, give them one star. If there's an option to give them negative stars, that'll really help. Zeros, if there's one thing I learned in high school, it was like a zero really kills your grade.
Zero messes you up.
Yeah, which is true. It's hard to come back from a zero, so give them a 0 out of 5 if you can.
Yeah, it'll really mess with their rating, as opposed to our stellar rating.
Yeah, so anyway, if you now Google whatever, there it is. So, but we're twinsiespodcast.com as well. So
what are
they're going to have to hyphenate or something stupid, or like
dot biz.
.org, .info, twinsiespod.cast. I don't know. Million ways they could go with this.
Pod.cast.
Or maybe they did twinsies.com, but I bet that's probably already taken, or even if it is, I don't know. We didn't choose that one. I don't remember why.
I don't remember.
Probably an obvious reason, but I don't know. Twinsiespodcast.com is descriptive. Lets you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yep. So, there you have it. Little morning disgruntlement.
Yeah, morning disgruntlement. So, we didn't talk about what we were going to talk about today, but one of the things that I kind of want to talk about is in my new position, I've been doing strength training at a local community college, and what I've found a struggle is when you're a gym owner, you get to pick all of the equipment that goes inside the building. And so you get to pick the total functionality of your square footage. And even us, we have about 3,500 square feet, maybe a little under 3,500 square feet of gym space. but it's really functional in that most of the square footage serves a direct purpose. Which is not to say that in this other facility that's not the case, but they have a lot of stuff like treadmills and machines, which eat up. They have a big like geographic footprint. They eat up a lot of space, but they aren't super functional. So like one whole half of the gym is, let me see, a row of treadmills, so maybe like 6 or 7, a row of ellipticals, and then a row of like Stairmaster bikes, stuff like that. And then in the other half, so if that's half the gym, the other quarter is machines. So there's like a Cybex machine circuit where you can make your way through a machine and you can do your pec deck, you could do a row, you could do leg extension, leg curl, an ab thing, and so
say
shoulder
pec
press.
Say pec deck 5 times fast.
No. So
pec deck. Okay.
And then in the sort of like the free weight area, there's 4 racks, and then to their credit, dumbbells up to 120, which is pretty solid.
Good job.
But then also a Smith machine, leg press, which are again kind of big bulky machines, and in some of my struggle has been when you have 25 people in a session, you only have 4 squat racks. What are you doing? So one of the biggest things that this has made me think about is I've also had some athletes with some limitations. So one of the big ones that you'll get is either back pain or spinal deformity, like a scoliosis or spondy or something like that. And then what do you do with those people? Well, here at Warbird Academy, we have a belt squat. And this is what the question I was going to pose to you when I'm done rambling is what are a couple of your favorite either like specialty bars or like specialty machine or like specialty pieces of equipment that we have here, or maybe we don't have. One of the things that I've been missing a lot is a belt squat. And if you don't know what a belt squat is, or like there's a brand called, or I don't know if it's a brand, but Pit Shark, who makes Pit Shark? Is it Hammer Strength?
I feel like the Pit Shark it's almost like like Rogue makes a Pit Shark, I'm pretty sure. I feel like it's someone's like patent maybe.
Okay.
Like they license it to different companies.
That makes sense.
It's what it smells like to me.
But basically it's if you don't know what that is, you put on a weight belt. The weight belt has some little latches on it, and you're able to suspend the weight from the belt rather than putting weight on your back. And so one of the things that you work on a lot as a strength coach is for people who have back problems, how to get them to squat, which is a great fundamental movement without what's called axial load. So putting load through their spine. And so we have the belt squat. So you can rep someone out.
We're going to pause.
We're
for
pausing.
Station identification.
Okay, so we had to pause briefly because we were visited by my father.
Station identification.
And if you ever see a man wearing a fedora with a sweatshirt tucked into sweatpants, there's a probably good chance that's my dad.
So I always... Well, it's funny. We turned and I looked at the door, and there was just an old man there, and he was tapping. I was like, "No, we're not going to the door." And then I realized it was Lucas's dad, and Lucas's dad belongs in Jurassic Park. So if you can imagine like an old guy wandering, like say they're like on their journey, and then they encounter like an old man who was lost, who just like lived in the park. That's Lucas's dad. Like you can imagine, he kind of looks like was it Muldoon? He's like the white guy in the first movie who he's like, she's hunting us, and he gets eaten by the raptor at the very end. He's super savvy. Yeah, the jungle guy. That's like Lucas's dad. Just throw 30 more years onto him. Yeah, and he's just walking around the woods and doesn't really know why, but he survived all this time. Like, how did you survive? Yeah. His dad's cunning. I don't know. He's just out there in the woods.
I feel like it's an accurate assessment. But anyway, so as I was saying, if you have an athlete with back pain and you want to do squats and you don't have access to a belt squat, you're kind of like SOL. Like one of the things I've resorted to is leg press, but leg presses really aren't great.
No, they suck.
For a myriad of reasons. But I was like, man, if we just kind of got rid of the Smith machine, because what do you use a Smith machine for? Like, it has certain value, but it's like for the amount of space it takes up, not a lot of value. So I was like, man, if we could just get rid of the Smith machine and put a belt squat in, and it kind of got me thinking about the luxury of we get to pick whatever we want to put in here. Yeah. What are some of the things that that you think are essential that we use here, sort of like non-traditional stuff that we have here that you might not find in maybe a commercial gym?
Let's go back to that. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, how do you feel about the usage of the word myriad? Because it's a word that has like entered my lexicon. However, the technical like usage of it appears to be like you would say, I have myriad reasons for doing this. And I'm not picking on the way you just use it, because the way you just use it, I prefer. It doesn't sound normal to me to say, I hate kittens for a myriad reasons. I hate kittens for a myriad of reasons. To me, it just feels like a lot better.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the correct usage. Like, tell me about the word myriad.
There's more words like that. I'm spacing on obviously all of them right now, but words that you feel like the flow of the language would indicate the use of an article, either before or after. But then, like you said, don't actually have. I was the longest way of like with milk toast for that reason. Like I wanted to say like that person's a total milk toast. But that's not how it's used. It's used like that person's milk toast. Yeah,
milk toast is a verb. It referred to a cartoon character like someone back in the day, but
is it an adjective?
It's an adjective. He's very milk toast.
Yeah.
If you're milk toast, you're like kind of like nerdy and bland, bland and.
But when I read the like etymology behind that word, then I wanted to be like, call people. Oh, he's
bro's
a milk toast.
Yeah,
that bro's a milk toast. So
which you probably could use because people would still understand what that would mean, what it meant, because he was a character in like a 30s sitcom or like whatever it was, or like it was a cartoon strip or something.
It was a cartoon strip.
Yeah, it's like, don't be like milk toast.
Well, and then like you said, it's like one of those things where you could be speaking to someone and they wouldn't even think twice about, they would know exactly what you're saying, but then if there's a pedant in the room, they're going to be like, actually,
Yeah, it's like, calm down, milk toast. Like,
this guy's being a total milk toast right now. So I don't, there's a handful of those words that I don't know if it's me or just like the use of them has been bastardized, where they've kind of been, and then it's like, what's the true usage of it then? Is it?
I don't feel like I want to fit in. I don't want to be up like on stage and be like, for myriad reasons. I want to be the change that I want to see in the world.
Yeah, you want to be the person speaking that when you were sitting in the audience goes, that person's not a total piece of crap. So I don't know.
I think myriad's a good word. Also paradigm. Do you use the word paradigm?
Mm-hmm.
I've in a lot of the books I've read this year, I've heard in a bunch. In the book, the 7 Habits, is it 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Dude used the word paradigm like every 19th word.
Paradigm's like
you must change your paradigm. It must be a paradigm shift.
The established sort of like model of things.
Yeah.
Or like the pre-existing model of things.
Yeah. Good word.
And then discourse. I use discourse a lot, which is kind of like the same idea, but in verbal discussion. So you say, well, actually, maybe I don't like that word, because it's used a lot in like political talk, where they're like, the Republican discourse right now is blah blah blah, and people. But that's a good word. It's a good all-encompassing word when you want to talk about like the common thread of discussion about a certain topic.
Yeah, there was a really good word I learned recently, and it was about Donald Trump. It's something that had the word like advocate or I don't know, but it was it basically like when you like start to just go off and lie about stuff.
I feel like
Varicate.
Oh, okay.
Varicate. And it was Kellyanne Conway's husband used that word. She's like, and because he tweets like infamously about Trump once in a while, and she's like his number one stooge, but he was like, it's called. Sorry, the word is prevaricate. Prevaricate. So he like George Conway left some like tweet about Trump, and it was just like, yeah, blah blah blah. We have a president who just continues to just prevaricate on blah 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 or something like that. So and I had to look it up, and I thought it was a really good word. It's basically when you just like start to stretch the truth to where it becomes a very like obviously a lie, something like that. I don't know. I'm still foggy on it again, because this kind of goes back to what we've discussed in other episodes, where if you don't use something, it doesn't stick in your brain long enough.
You used a word the other day that is one of my favorite words. I think it was you. I can't remember what the heck you were talking about, but bucolic.
Oh, bucolic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was actually, I proposed that to be our like a drinking game when I was at my bachelor party with my buddy 2 weeks ago, because we were out just in the countryside. I'm like, I'm in a place we could use the word bucolic.
Yes.
Of course, literally no one used the word.
Right.
But bucolic.
That's the thing, yeah. And then it becomes, I know this cool word that literally 0 people are going to know what I'm talking about. And then it defeats the entire purpose.
I think I used it in the Snapchat when I got out there. It's like, well,
Okay,
in this
that's
bucolic setting
That might have been one
in
of
the
those.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who was the famous painter who is known for his bucolic?
I know exactly what you're talking
it's
about,
like
but-
the guy. It's the same guy who did the painting with the mother or the husband and wife farmers that
The
are
very
standing there.
sour looking.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
I don't know who that is.
It's
But
like
I
Andrew Lloyd Webber. Is it Andrew Lloyd Webber?
He's a playwright. He
It's
wrote.
not Andrew Lloyd Webber. But one of
Phone in. Let us know.
Let us know who is the
Someone right now is
legendary
listening to this
bucolic
podcast
paintings.
and they're like, it's blah blah blah, you idiots. But
Yeah, if you don't know what bucolic means, it's like having
it's like pastoral beauty, like
yes, beautiful countryside.
Yeah.
You say that is a bucolic setting. Mm-hmm. His farmhouse is on a bucolic setting.
Yeah.
Also, like that's again, like I could use that word 0 times for the rest of my life. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
But and then what was the other one I was going to ask you about? We covered myriad, paradigm.
One that was I read this book
Prevaricate.
Here's a look into my life. I read a 400,000 word biography on U.S. Grant, and the author kept using the phrase bête noire, Bettenoir, which is a French phrase meaning black beast, and apparently it refers to like someone's like inner demons or something that's very like adversarial to them, like something they have to battle all the time. And bête noire I thought was pretty good. He would be like, like U.S. Grant throughout his career was like had a drinking problem, and so they referred to his alcoholism as his bête noire a lot, which is kind of cool.
It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
Or Dan and Eye Patch Dan. So if you have a kid with an eye patch, how do you program around that in the weight room?
Yeah, you can't throw stuff at their face really fast, I guess.
Yeah. So back to your original question. I had another question. So my other question was, is your weight room shared with common students, or is this an athletes-only weight room?
Great question. It is a shared space, which also makes it complicated.
So there's just civilians wandering around, or I'm sure they close it off.
NARPs,
They close it off.
non-athletic regular people. That's apparently a phrase or a term that I learned the other day.
It's a good one syllable. NARP.
So yeah, and several of the workouts occur before 7:30 in the morning, so that's not too much of a problem. But there are groups
Not many NARPs lurking around
Not
at,
too many
at
NARPs.
5 a.m.
But the 12:30, 1:30 sessions, that becomes an issue because you have to like maintain, or you try to keep like one squat rack open for people to use. But it's very difficult.
Just encourage your team to fart as much as they can between
Yeah,
sets to just push everyone out.
Yep. Eat all your beans before you come to workouts.
Guys, yeah. Sulfur equals empty weight room.
Yeah. Don't shower before you get here. But yeah,
Why
so
not
it
problem
is
anyway?
it is a shared space, and that is yet another struggle. And like something like we have dual cable columns here. They have a cable column, but it's not. Ours is fully articulating and adjustable, so you can go up and down. Theirs is stationary, and there's only one like seated row station. I'm a big like horizontal row fan, so it's like it's not only you can't just like sit down and write your perfect program, right? You have to go okay.
Yeah.
I get basically one set of people can be doing dumbbells. Like I can't program chest support row in a superset and a goblet squat and a dumbbell lateral lunge because then there won't be enough dumbbells. So you have to go. All right, in each given workout, I can have like kind of one dumbbell station, one barbell station, and then kind of figure it out from there. So it adds another kind of layer of complexity to it, which isn't ideal, but I mean it's definitely doable.
Yeah. I think I couldn't live without sleds. I think sleds are probably the most versatile thing where if someone has knee pain, they can do sleds, especially backwards. They can pull them backwards. I mean, you could just do like so many different things that are safe, that are like all ages, that are still really hard without having to like think too hard about it. It's also very hard without being unsafe. There's a whole, just the combination of all these factors of safety and difficulty and multi-use. I think the sleds are one of the biggest bang for the buck. Like if you had nothing else to do, if you just dragged a sled around your cul-de-sac or your neighborhood, which no one would do, you'd be that weird guy that pushes a sled up a street.
There goes old sled Johnny.
Screeching steel against asphalt. But I think they're as much like indispensable as anything.
Yeah, that's
You can do so much with them.
a good one. I didn't really think about that too much. And then, like you said, they're like infinitely scalable. You can do that with an 8-year-old or a freak athlete or a 50-year-old.
You know, fast or slow, really heavy, really light, sideways, forward, backward.
You can shove it. You can, And like you said, for those who have knee pain and for those who have back pain, those are typically really good exercises where, I mean, if you have a belt attachment, that's even better. But even if you don't, just kind of like the way the load falls through your spine, you're typically not going to feel too much pain that way. That's a very good one. I've also come to, with each passing year, I come to look at our Yoke Bar, our safety squat Yoke Bar, more and more as like a really good piece of equipment where, especially for your overhead athletes who, or like, you know, baseball players in the middle of their season are a good example. Like someone somewhere is going to have a barky shoulder. And if you still want them doing a little bit of squatting and they really can't get into a really solid front rack position, or they don't have the mobility at the moment to get into a good back squat position, you can put them on a Yoke Bar where it's really, really comfortable to do your squats. Or because of the way the Yoke Bar sits on your shoulders where you don't have to hold it, you can do like heavy Bulgarians. They're good for reverse lunges, all that kind of stuff. So that's another good one.
Yep.
Which we do have. There are I think 2 safety squat Yoke Bars at the gym, but that's typically not something you see in a commercial gym. I mean, I haven't stepped foot into a commercial gym in probably 5 years, but
nope. Bonus yawn for this morning.
The other thing I discovered recently is Nautilus makes a piece of it. Because here's the other thing that I was talking to my athletes about, because they were, you know, we were kind of talking about this the other day about the lack of squat racks, and I was like joking with them that I was going to try to convince the AD into getting me some more squat racks, and I was like, well, if you look over at that other side of the gym with the machines and the treadmills, like, look at the amount of space over there, but look at the amount of functionality. First of all, the cardio pieces are very rarely completely used up. Like, they're always open ones. So it's like, okay, maybe we could get rid of a couple of those. And then I'm obviously extremely biased, by the way. And so I was talking about, like, oh, you can get rid of this machine, you can get rid of that machine, you can get rid of this. And then I kind of stopped myself because I was talking to a Illinois State exercise science intern. And I was like, well, you know what, though? Like, since it's like you were saying, it's a shared space, the benefit of machines is if you know nothing about anything, you can just come in and run through those machines and get
no appreciable gains or performance enhancement out of it.
Get no benefit, but you will not have hurt yourself by the end of it, and you can tell yourself that you got to work at it. I mean, obviously, you and I are both biased in that we're strength coaches, and more specifically, we teach true strength training with free weights. So if we had it our way, everybody would do that. But the reality is people either don't know enough or aren't willing to learn enough to do a competent workout in a free weight space. But, okay, so this led me to then, there is a piece of equipment I like. Nautilus makes a piece of equipment called a Glute Drive, which is basically an articulating bench that allows you to do plate-loaded hip thrusts through like a larger range of motion. So if you imagine kind of like your feet go on a plate. Like this.
Yeah, that's really good.
And then you like belt in, you strap in a belt, and then there's like little safety handles that you undo, and then you can do really long, big range of motion hip thrusts, which looks really cool. And the footprint is really small. It's like a really, really small machine. And I was like, oh man, if I was gonna buy a machine, I'd get that because it's sweet. But like we have a power runner sitting in the back that doesn't really get used all that often, but that's another one that's pretty good for if people have back pain. What else do we have? Cambered Bar. Cambered Bar is another, just another squat variation bar that allows for, perhaps, allows a way for people to squat who have reduced shoulder mobility, but also just adds the weight can kind of swing around a little bit, so it just adds another variation.
Yeah.
Any other?
I mean, we have a couple glute ham raise machines. I mean, we just have we can do pretty much anything that you'd want to do in our facility. We have tons of chains.
What don't we have?
Tons of bands. Yeah, we're like a powerlifter's haven. And once in a while, we get an email from a powerlifter like, oh, can I work out in your facility? Like, blah, blah. And then 50% of the time, they never even show up when we like say, okay, yeah, like we can meet with you and kind of like see if it's a good fit. And then half of the time, they don't even show up. And then the other half of the time, we just say, no, you're not going to show up. You suck. Just go away.
Is there something that we don't have that you want?
I want new glute ham raises.
Mm-hmm.
I used one at this rock climbing gym in Baltimore.
It was buttery smooth, probably.
It was really easy on the quads. Our kids complain endlessly about the density of that pad on our glute ham machines. because it's rough. But the one I used, it was a Rogue Fitness brand, also had really, it was just like the angles were different, where I was getting a lot more work at the last bit of the range of motion, which with these, when you get about to 135 degree knee angle, you stop like getting much work in, which we can fix. So you can just put a band around your neck, and then it continues to get, the resistance increases as you get higher up. So we can fix that. Like, that's not an issue here, but I like doing that one with body weight, and it just was like a harder, just because of the angles. Like, it was just harder than ours are.
Yeah.
But is that worth $800 or whatever they are?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at too, where it's like there are a couple pieces that I'm like, oh, that would be a good addition, but they're just like not really worth the $800 to $3,000 investment.
Yeah, machines are the worst bang. I mean, they're just so expensive and stupid.
Yeah,
Just very expensive and stupid. So the quad extensions, leg extensions, the hamstring curls. I mean, if you look at these machines and the complexity, just like all the tubing and the bushings and the ball bearings and just the joints and the engineering, there's so many moving parts, and they all have to be welded together and precisely cut, and then powder coated. Like, there's a lot that goes into even a stupid basic machine that just collects dust at a commercial gym. And that's just like how they're so expensive. I mean, steel's expensive, especially with all these new tariffs, and it's just so much easier to just manufacture a barbell.
well,
4 uprights and 4 cross beams, and you have a squat rack.
and
stuff
even
that.
and let me preface this by, in the absence of any sort of pain or dysfunction, so like in the absence of back pain, if you have, let's look at like a leg curl versus a sliding leg curl. So you have a leg curl machine that literally the only thing it does is it trains your hamstring, so your knee flexion, essentially training a hamstring, and it's a big machine and it's expensive.
Big machine.
And the knock against machines is, while you're isolating the hamstring, that's great, you're also failing to train anything else. So in addition to sort of like the other muscles that are involved in hamstring contraction, like typically your glutes and stuff like that, you're not training those, and you're not training any of the ligaments through your joints and system. So you're getting your hamstrings really strong, but in the absence of making anything else strong. So if an athlete's doing that, it's not the best, because then you're potentially isolating their hamstring, getting their hamstring whatever, and then you're asking them to go run around, and now they have potentially a strong hamstring, but nothing surrounding it is strong, and then you get injuries that way. Whereas you look at something like a sliding leg curl, where all you need is, I mean, we use furniture sliders, but you could very easily use, I mean, people use towels on hardwood, or we've used paper plates before in the past, where
Chinette brand mostly.
Yeah, and a very similar exercise, but now all of a sudden you're training your core because you have to keep your stomach tight. You're training your glutes because your glutes have to stay tight the whole time. You can control like your eccentric movement, and it's just like an infinitely better exercise for literally a fraction of the cost. So I don't know, but like not many people know how to do a sliding leg curl. So
yeah, I mean, it's always YouTube away at people. So
yeah.
You can learn to do them with an eye patch, without an eye patch.
Yep.
Either way.
With teeth, without teeth.
With teeth. It's a good time to be a ghoul here. Mm-hmm. It's is it October yet? No, it's really getting close, but Halloween's coming up. There's already a Halloween candy in Kroger, and
you're just itching to get at that candy on November 1st.
I don't know. You know what?
We have to, at least for the Warbird children.
Big thing of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah. Because all the Halloween candy will get marked down, and then people can stuff their face, jack up that blood sugar while they're in here working out.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they have to mix so many Whoppers in with the regular candy mix.
Well, there's just a whole conspiracy.
What's their agenda here?
It's a conspiracy.
Just make less Whoppers.
Yeah, just stop making
Whoppers.
And
put more Reese's peanut butter cups in the bag. Like, it's garbage. No one wants to eat the garbage.
Take the machinery devoted to making Whoppers right now, convert it to Reese's cups.
Just retool it. Make the new molds.
Or just squirt Reese's peanut butter into the Whopper instead of whatever the crappy filling is.
Trick, yeah. Now there's a select group of old people that are embittered about it, but
where are my
everyone else is
Whoppers?
happy. Yeah. I don't know.
Whoppers. I'm not a huge Smarties fan. What else are like garbage candies?
I've got a big one.
Okay.
So, I'm not that he's certainly not gonna listen to this podcast, but at our bachelor party weekend, we had to get ice cream, for this hot wings challenge that we did. We ate really, really hot wings, and the groom-to-be wanted to get some ice cream so the guys could like cool their mouth off, whatever. So we go to the gas station, and one of the guys grabs not 1 but 2 quarts of ice cream.
Okay.
He grabs the same flavor, and of course he was paying for it, and I wasn't gonna complain about it. I just like watched him do this in horror, and I was like, "You grabbed 2 of the same one. Number one, you could have gotten 2 different ones, but you got 2 of the same one, and they are blank. What flavor am I talking about? That's just god awful. I don't know why anyone buys it, but we probably both grew up with it. And if you're 25 or older, you probably had your parents probably bought it. What ice cream quart am I talking about? Or not quart, but
is it like a staple flavor?
it's like a staple flavor for a family.
It's not like strawberry.
Everyone. There's a little something in there for everyone.
What?
Neapolitan. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, all right, I'm disappointed because I like ice cream. And there were a couple other flavors. There's like buttered pecans, some other ones. I'm like, just, you get a Neapolitan, but also get like a different one. Don't get 2 Neapolitans because we only even need 1 Neapolitan.
Right.
But I just started thinking about Neapolitan. And my question to you is, if no one grew up eating Neapolitan, so obviously this guy's he's a great guy, and I just assume he grew up with Neapolitan like I did, right? It's like a normal thing when you think of like going out to get ice cream. Because of the way you're raised, you just like sometimes think of Neapolitan. I
That's
don't.
what your brain.
Because I like fled. I was the kid that like I just like took my stuff and left in the night and never came back to Neapolitan. But
There's a concept in psychology that is, I don't know if they're called archetypes, but basically when we're young, when we're learning like what things are, we establish an archetype for like the And so he in his brain,
he's the Plato's form of ice cream is
yeah,
Neapolitan.
he in his brain is just like every time he hears ice cream, his memory reference is Neapolitan. So he's like, we need ice cream,
and I think that's reasonable. And so my question to you is, if no one grew up with Neapolitan, would it still even exist? Would anyone buy that garbage in the grocery store?
I lean towards yes, or I would lean towards no. It would not be a thing because I would have to think that, okay, so we're all introduced to Neapolitan when we're younger, but probably 100% of people are then introduced to a second flavor later in life that is superior to Neapolitan. So why would you ever go back?
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember the last time I had Neapolitan ice cream.
Like, I like all the flavors individually. However,
that's my thing.
Like, I do. Like, I like strawberry ice cream, it's fine. I like chocolate ice cream, it's fine. I like vanilla ice cream, it's fine. I wouldn't buy any 3 of those by themselves. Usually, maybe vanilla would be the only one,
right?
Because if you're buying chocolate ice cream, there's like chocolate fudge, there's like Moose Tracks, there's like all these other iterations of it that just like pretty much make it better. And I don't know. And if you like,
what does strawberry have? So
nobody buys strawberry ice cream.
Okay, well that's what I thought.
Nobody buys that.
Well, and you know how? So like you were saying, chocolate has like superior iterations, like better versions. Vanilla obviously does as well. Is there an equivalent for strawberry? What can you put in strawberry that makes it better? Nothing.
No, I mean, like, maybe I feel like I've had like a strawberry shortcake ice cream or something with just like little chunks of like cone in it or something, maybe. But maybe that's just like at a ice cream place. But there's no reason to ever eat strawberry ice cream. And so then you have this thing. It's just divided, and just like obviously there's an old Simpsons joke. Do you remember the episode where Homer goes?
The answer is almost inevitably no, but go ahead.
He goes into the freezer, and he pulls out a thing of Neapolitan ice cream, lifts the lid, because he said the flap lids, not the pull-off lids. And he looks in it, and there's vanilla intact, strawberry intact, and all the chocolate's gone. And then he looks at another one, same thing, vanilla's intact, strawberry's intact, chocolate's all gone. He goes, "Marge, we need more Neapolitan ice cream." And I feel like that's also very typical. Like,
right.
And that's perhaps the allure of why you'd buy it, because, my son likes chocolate, my daughter likes strawberry, my wife likes vanilla, my other son likes strawberry, like whatever.
This is getting to my... Is there anyone on Earth that will do, like, take their spoon and run it down mid and just do all 3? And then...
That person would be a psychopath.
Okay.
I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. Probably wears an eye patch.
Because this is a general principle I have about food like this, where they go, strawberry's good. Well, it's not good, but vanilla's good. Chocolate's good. You know what'd be great? Put them all together and it's even better. Like, that's not a thing that works.
No.
You can't be like, peanut butter's good. Shrimp is good. Asparagus is good. Let's mix them all together. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and my irritation with Neapolitan ice cream as a kid was that I didn't want to just dominate, especially as I got started to get older. I didn't want to just like eat the entire chocolate section because that's not that much ice cream. I mean, it's 2 quarts of ice cream, so it's 2/3 of 1 quart for each of the 3 slices. Good fractions. So that's not that much ice cream. I mean, 2/3 of a quart is something a high schooler could eat in one sitting.
Yeah,
it's not that much. So, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to eat all the chocolate because then mom will be sad. So then you got to eat some chocolate. Then you got to mix in some strawberry in your bowl. And now you're mixing those 2 flavors, and you're like, this is garbage. Why am I doing this?
Doesn't make any sense.
And then invariably, as you're trying to scoop out, I mean, it's a spoon, so it's not like it's like a knife. I mean, you're going to get some leakage from one to the other. And now you got strawberry mixed in with your chocolate or strawberry mixed in your vanilla, and you're like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? And so I feel like if no one grew up with Neapolitan ice cream, if it was just on the grocery store shelf, because they don't advertise ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, it's just there. You'd have had to grab it, bring it out, and like look at it and be like, ooh, this is definitely the one I want. Not
right.
butter pecan, not mint chocolate chip, not that other cool
not
flavor.
Infinitely
I want this.
Other cool
I want to have a different flavor each day that are all mediocre.
I'm sure.
No, it would never exist anymore. I'm confident it wouldn't exist.
I'm sure there's a name for that phenomenon because candy corn's the same thing.
Yeah,
candy corn's the worst, but
why does it exist?
Year after year after year, people buy the crap out of it just because they're like, oh, I remember Halloween when I was little, we had candy corn.
It's all like ground up earwigs and bone, like bone. Candy.
There's a lot, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like there's a lot of products like that.
Yeah, it was just so weird because I hadn't even thought about Neapolitan ice cream until 2 weekends ago. I hadn't even thought about it.
Was there,
no, I like happily moved on.
Was there consensus from the group where they're all like, what in the world is this? Or were they all just kind of accepted it?
I don't think anyone else thought about it. I mean, we all ate it and it was fine. Like, it was not a big deal. It was just like, I just pondered.
Interesting.
It was less about, like, it wasn't a big deal. Like, it was fine.
Right.
It was me really just more like, wow, I haven't seen Neapolitan forever. And I'm really surprised that, like, a guy, I mean, he's like 30 like I am, that he bought Neapolitan ice cream. Like, given other choices, like, I just saw a human buy Neapolitan ice cream.
Yeah.
It was just like weird. It was just weird.
Jim probably in his heyday went down to the soda shop and got a Neapolitan.
Yep.
A cup of Neapolitan.
Yeah. So, and then obviously when you get towards the end of the Neapolitan, there's usually at least a combination of a couple flavors left, and you can either have
scraps
a
down
tiny, like you can have like a palmful of one flavor, or you can have a bowl full of 3 flavors, and you're like, so if you got to mix them again.
If you're
it's the worst.
Nominated as the ice cream run guy, and you get 2 quarts, what 2 quarts are you getting?
In that situation with hot wings, I would have definitely would have definitely got butter pecan.
Oh, that's probably one of my favorites of all time.
I think the options were like chocolate, butter pecan, vanilla, Neapolitan, maybe like one more. It was just a gas station, but definitely butter pecan, and then probably either vanilla or chocolate.
Yeah,
probably vanilla though. Chocolate with like hot wings.
Hot wings and chocolate is not. Yeah, I would say vanilla's the play there.
But all the flavors were good as people were burning. Like, give me that.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, if you're eating a habanero pepper,
what's that one look like? Is that so? What's the
habanero is a little. It's like maybe 2 inches long.
Is it kind of like a really small banana? Oh no, it's the rounder one, right?
It's like, I don't know, it just looks like a little whatever, but you can get them like 10 for $1 at grocery store, and they're just like insanely hot. They're not like as hot as like a ghost pepper, or there's a couple ones hotter than that, but they're like
the Carolina Reaper.
They're the first ones, and like the ones that'll like mess you up and like make people freak out.
How many Scoville units is that?
That's a lot of Scovilles, but so in this challenge, he just wanted to like ask trivia questions, and like you eat a wing before each ring of like increasing intensity, and like 1 through 3 were like getting hotter but normal, but 4 and 5 were like special hot sauce that were like pretty much mostly habanero, and the last one was just like basically just like ground up habaneros just in a jar. So each guy put like a drop or 2 on his wing, and I put a couple on mine. But I'd eaten habaneros in high school. I went to Safeway, which is the local supermarket, and I don't know, I just like went to the grocery store a lot. I still do. I probably go 5 days a week, but I just like bought them one day for no reason, and I was like, I bet this isn't that hot. Home, eat the whole thing, and then you're just like literally paralyzed with like pain for like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and it was an eye-opening experience because I did it just like by myself. It was just like a normal day after school, and I was like sitting on my back porch. I just like ate one. I was like, oh, not that bad, and then just like starts, and then it's just you can envision that like fire that you like, you know, you spray, you know, your coals in your grill, and you get them soaked with lighter fluid, and it sinks in. You light it, and then like there's big wind, but the wind like pushes the flame, but then like doesn't go out. It's just like pushes the flame, and it like won't go out. It's like that. Like it just like you can drink milk, and you're like, oh, this is better, and then as soon as the milk goes down your throat, it's just like, and it's like so much different than like a jalapeno or like a buffalo wing. Like the habanero and above, it's to the point where your whole body becomes affected. Like you breathe in, and you're like sucking down like fire, like down your throat, and you like take breaths, and you're like sucking down fire, and you're like, you breathe out, and it just gets hotter, and you're like, it's just like so invasive that. So I like did this, and I was like miserable, and then I wanted to share with my friends, obviously, like see how like they would handle it. So I bought some, and I got a couple to do with me, and I brought them to school, which is probably not a good idea. But like one kid freaked out, freaked out, and had to go to the nurse. And we didn't really get in trouble, but they were like, "Why did you do this? Like this wasn't a good thing to do."
One time
and then I ate them a couple other times in high school. But you just like learn, like it's like a potential freak out kind of thing. Like if you're like weak of mind, or you're just like you don't know what's going on, you can just be like, I'm dying, like kind of like being, I don't know, when you're like borderline drowning or something, or like being tossed around the surf, and there's like water constantly like kind of going in your mouth or whatever. This is just a crazy experience, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, so I fell down this YouTube rabbit hole one time of people eating Carolina Reapers, which I think are the hottest. They're in the last like year or so there might be a hotter one, but and it's just fascinating to watch their reactions. Where I've probably watched 6 or 7 people do it. And one of the guys was a guy who, like, that's his thing. He, like, eats hot peppers. And they would just, like, literally lose their minds. And just, like, watching him go through it, like, it almost makes you want to do it just so you can see, like, what you would do. But, I mean, they're, like, dry heaving, and, like, they have, like, you know, like, one guy just, like, spaces out, like, completely just, like, goes blank. And, like, they have to get up and walk around. They have to, you know, they can't sit still. It's all very fascinating. But yeah. But it's like, it's definitely that one guy does it, and you know he's like freaking out for a second, and then he just like consciously like tries to get himself to calm down. He's just like, all right, I'm just gonna like, you know, embrace this, let it wash over me, and he like kind of collects himself, and it's like, oh, okay, that guy probably wouldn't drown if he was, you know, panicking underwater. Because then I was actually, when you were talking about that, also thinking about I watched this segment from the Joe Rogan podcast where this guy was talking about, and I'm not going to relate the whole story because I don't remember it, and B, it's long, but he's a cave diver, and he's cave diving with his buddy, and he says, like, basically his sentiment is the number one thing when you're cave diving with other people is don't freak out, because if you freak out, then everybody freaks out, and then that's how you die. And so he's kind of talking about how you know, they're going down into this cave, and you run a line to like help yourself get back out, and basically they're underwater in a really, really small cave, zero light, and his buddy starts to freak out, and in freaking out, you know, he kind of like tossles and knocks him, and so when he gets knocked, then he loses sense of where he is, and he says, like, when you're underwater in pitch black, you just like, there's no way to then reorient yourself. You're kind of like screwed. And then so he's like, and then the other rule he said was, if you are, let's say you and I go cave diving, and you freak the heck out, I just like bounce, because like what you're kind of like the underwritten rule, or maybe it's written, I don't know, in cave diving is don't lose 2 lives when you could only lose 1. And so they'll say, like, if it's not a sure thing, if you like can't get your buddy out, you just like leave him. And so he's like torn with like, do I help? Am I trying to help him out? Am I like trying to save myself? Because you basically have to make the call really quick, because if you're like indecisive, then you can just like run out of air or whatever. I don't know. But that was the same kind of thing where it's, you know, your ability to, under severe distress, being able to like center yourself and like figure it out. Yeah. Not that that's kind of like the same thing, but it's kind of similar.
The same thing. Yeah. I mean, and like in this experience, I think I was the only one eating something like really hot like that, so it like wasn't that big a deal. Like I just knew that, okay, like I know it's about to happen.
Nose gonna run. Eyes gonna water.
It's gonna be really miserable. I'm gonna eat this. I'm just gonna like sit there. You just have to wear it. You just have to wear it. There's nothing you can really do. Ice cream actually helped a lot, but you know, and like other guys, like no one like freaked out, but like some guys were like much more effective than others. And
Did you get hiccups?
No, God, I hate the hiccups. Ugh, I hate the hiccups.
That's like one thing everybody gets when they eat the Carolina Reapers. They just start like hiccuping, and then dry heaving is the other thing.
The dry heaving. Yeah, my friends in high school dry heaved a bunch, and yeah, I think that the hot pepper thing is especially weird because it's in your mouth. So every breath you take, you're reminded how much pain you're in. You like can't. It's hard to separate your brain. I mean, I don't know if it's because it's your face and your brain all in the same spot, but it's just
your brain's like, this is real close.
Like, you like try to calm down, but every in and out is just like more flames, more flames,
yeah,
more flames, more flames, more flames, more flames.
One of the techniques you can use to kind of like calm yourself down is do like breathing exercises, but then yeah, you're just like actively.
It's just
stoking the fire.
It's like so close to your brain that you're just constantly dwelling on it. So yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know why people would cave dive. Number one, I have no desire to be underwater in pitch black in a tight space. That's like the trifecta of like everyone's fears.
And that's like one of those things, you know, when there's something that I don't think I would find joy in, I like to try to go, okay, well, like, if I was in their shoes, what would I value? Like, what would I find fun about this? I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Like normally you can find a redeeming quality for something, but I don't know what we have to. We'll bring a cave diver on the podcast, but I don't know what it is. It just seems very dangerous, very claustrophobic, and I don't know, like, you don't get like a cupcake at the end. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably some really cool stuff to explore. You've got to probably just be like really explorer at heart.
Explorer-y, yeah.
Yeah, where you just like, I'm gonna go someplace no one's ever been.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If I can go through this little.
Yeah,
but the idea
crevice.
of going down a crevice and then maybe it like narrows and you can't get through, and then Elon Musk's twittering at you,
yeah,
and
he's like,
I
have a ship for you.
Yeah,
I could save you with a ship. Yeah, and I like don't handle like tight spaces like that well anyway.
No, they're not great. But even then, it's like, so, you know, you imagine you like go down a tunnel a really long way, and then it gets too narrow, and you're like shimmying through, and you like can't go any farther. That's definitely a moment when I think about that, like that's like freak out. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you just back up.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a long way to get out, but you just back up.
Ooh.
And then if you add water to that, or you add a lack of air to that, then it's just like, still you just like got to collect yourself real quick. I remember when I rolled my Jeep in high school, I had a Jeep Cherokee and it was lifted, 33-inch tires. So one night, it was a long story, but I was coming out of a state park and I took a turn too fast and I slid a little bit and the tires chirped. I counter steered and just like before I knew, as soon as my tires chirped, like within like 1 second, I was on my hood or on my roof. I just immediately flipped. And when I hit, this like immediate reaction was like freak out. I was like, wait, and I had like help, like this real quick, and then I was like, wait. It's almost like someone slapped me. They're like, wait, you're fine. Just like turn the car off and like get out of the car, and I did. So it was like this really like immediate like guttural like
oh God.
Quick like freak out. What just happened? Like, oh, I just got in a crash. I should be freaking out. But then I just like immediately I'm like it washed over me and I was fine. And I had this weird reaction to it. The EMT was saying, because I was 17, I had to like go to the hospital legally. But I was sitting on the thing looking at the wreckage as they were like checking me out, and my heart rate was like 45. And he was like, I really wish your heartbeat was beating faster. He's like, most people when they crash their car, they're like all wound up and like beating, and like yours is like the opposite reaction. He's like, it's really weird. He's like, I'm glad you're okay, but he's like, I really wish your heart was beating a little faster. So I don't know, everyone's reaction to stuff is different. And there are definitely situations where I would freak out. Like I do not that cave diving thing sounds horrifying, just terrible. But when you're there, you just have like a kind of like a choice. I think everyone their inner monologue determines how fast they can like calm down and come back. I think probably quicker.
Yeah, and I think like you're talking about
different.
That initial guttural response is probably unavoidable. It's just like your ability to come back from that and go like okay. And I'm sure if you've done it before, if you're a cave diver, I'm sure it's like no big deal. But I'm sure those first couple times, like when you're a cave diver, those first couple times where you get a little too wedged and you're like, oh, yeah, or like lose your way. Oof.
That's gonna be just awful.
I just remember, like one time when I was younger, I was wrestling with my older brother, and most people have had this experience where, you know, he's sitting on top of me, he has me totally pinned, and I can't move at all. and you go to move something and it doesn't move, and you're just like, no, and you just like have that freak out. Like I vividly remember that, and I was like, oh, apparently I don't like this, and so that's like, yeah, it's something that you always keep in the back of your head.
Yeah, there's that scene in Kill Bill where she gets buried alive.
Oh yeah,
and then she starts to which is probably not accurate.
I took some liberties there.
But you wonder if you put 100 people in a box like that and buried them alive, how many of it'd be interesting to see the different reactions.
Yeah,
because there's a certain amount of people that are just gonna be like, okay, this is what it is. I'm just gonna relax and reflect on my life and soak it in. Other people are probably gonna just scratch and claw until their fingernails come off until they're out of air.
Yeah, when she breaks through that,
she would be dead.
Okay.
I mean, I think the crux was that they lazily filled the thing in. If you haven't seen Kill Bill, this was Volume 2. The heroine in the movie, Beatrix, she goes to kill this guy who wronged her. He shoots her with rock salt, drugs her, and then goes to bury her alive, and exhumes a body. Another good word. Puts her in that coffin, nails it shut, puts her in the ground, but then lazily fills it in with a lot of sticks and porous things. He just didn't put all the dirt back in. I don't know why. So then as she climbed out, there was
because she had to be able to get out. That's why.
There's no way you could climb through densely packed dirt like that. Just I don't think that would happen.
Well, and you have
Mythbusters. Go ahead and test this if you want to.
Because you have it when you're in the box. You have air. There's gapping, but then as soon as you break through, then it just fills with dirt.
It does. Yeah. As soon as she punches, it just all rushes through. But then she's immediately climbing.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to probably be a race to not suffocate as you're climbing up. But I don't see how you could do that.
Yeah. There's another movie. There's a Ryan Reynolds movie where he's buried alive. I watched
Ryan
it, but
Reynolds is in it. It's probably not
left.
great.
Yeah, left my brain immediately. I don't remember anything about it, but
probably for the best.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, this was an interesting tangential Twinsies episode, but we'll see you next week.
See ya.